Hello and welcome to the Sallie Tomato YouTube channel. I'm Kate, and here at Sallie Tomato we enjoy bringing you tutorials that educate and inspire. Today's project is a useful tote bag with infinite possibilities for creative expression. We are making the Bonnie bag today. The pattern is designed as a collaboration with Sallie of America. This large carryall has several pockets, comfortable shoulder straps, and a roomy interior so you can carry everything you need and more. The Bonnie offers areas for embroidery and surface embellishment, creating a fun opportunity for you to show off your personal style. The name and design of this pattern is inspired by Faye Dunaway and the film Bonnie and Clyde. Our Bonnie bag pairs perfectly with our Lucky Penny, Bella, and Deanie patterns. All the patterns can be found at sallietomato.com. The finished size is 21 inches wide, 13 inches high, and 6 inches deep. It features magnetic top closure, exterior front and back zipper pockets, interior slip pocket and zipper pocket, and sturdy shoulder straps. Before we get started, be sure to grab a pattern. See the description below this video and follow the link to access the pattern information, and use our retailer locator on our website to find a Sallie Tomato retailer near you. All the supplies you need are listed on the back of the pattern. This project is suitable for quilt weight cottons, linen, canvas, denim, as your main fabric. Faux leather and cork fabrics are ideal as the contrast fabric. Once you decide on your fabrics, gather your pattern, other supplies, and cut out all the pieces that you need, and let's begin. Our first step is to fuse interfacing to the coordinating pieces. We would start with fusing the interfacing pieces A, B, and C to the coordinating wrong side main fabric pieces A, B, and C. However, I am going to be skipping this step because I'm using a canvas fabric. It is heavy enough or firm enough that I really don't need the interfacing, and you would want to skip the interfacing if you are using laminated fabrics. You'll also want to follow your pattern to center and fuse the interfacing piece M. This will be a zipper placement interfacing on the wrong side of your lining. I am going to skip this step as well because I'm using our Sallie Tomato Turtle Tex, and it is coated, so it acts as if it were interfaced already. Now is the perfect time though to embellish your main fabric pieces A, that's the exterior, or your exterior zipper pockets with embroidery or applique designs, other surface embellishments. Just remember to position your embellishing allowing for the seam allowances. Be sure to visit sewingonline.salkie.com for a video tutorial on how to embroider the exterior panels for this tote bag. Center the heavy stabilizer piece on the wrong side of your contrast piece K, that's the base. Either use basting spray or basting tape to hold that stabilizer in place, and then you're going to top stitch in from the cut edge of the stabilizer, just like I've done here. Your piece N, that's the stabilizer piece, is cut smaller than the base piece so it doesn't get caught in the seams in a later step. The firmness of the stabilizer is going to help prevent the base of your bag from sagging. I've gone ahead and already attached my foam to the main pieces A. What you're going to do is align all the edges of the foam and the main fabric. Use basting spray or sewing clips to hold those layers together. And then you're going to baste around all four sides with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. If you'd like, you can certainly trim away a little of the excess foam along the edges. Just be careful to not cut into your basting stitches. You may also find a walking foot or Teflon foot helpful for sewing laminated cottons or waxed canvas fabrics. Then center the foam piece K on the wrong side of your contrast piece K, that's the base. You're covering the heavy stabilizer. Hold the layers together and then baste again a 1/4 inch from all the edges. With the foam attached to the exterior pieces, we're now ready to prepare the exterior zippers. There are 2 exterior zippers, but I'm just going to show you one, so make sure you repeat the steps to complete both exterior zippers. On the wrong side of contrast piece L, that's a zipper tab, mark a vertical line in from one long edge. With wrong sides together, now align the raw end of the 6-inch zipper along the marked line on one zipper tab. You're going to top stitch the zipper just in from the raw ends. This is holding the tab in place. You can certainly use basting tape to hold the zipper tabs in place if you like, and you may find a Teflon foot and stiletto help move your fabric smoothly as you sew. I do like using a stiletto just because these are such small pieces. Fold the zipper tab in half, covering the right side of the zipper, and then you'll top stitch the tab an 1/8 inch from the raw edge. Be sure you repeat the process to add the zipper tabs to each end of each 6-inch zipper. You'll notice my zipper tabs are rather crooked, so take your time. Yours will look much neater and straighter than mine are. I think I do my worst sewing on the video camera. With the zippers prepared, we're now ready to assemble the exterior zipper pockets. First, you're going to mark, this will be along the top edge of your exterior pocket, piece B. Just mark in from one corner along that top edge. You're going to then draw a diagonal line between the top mark and the nearest bottom corner. So you'll have 2 angled lines where it's narrow at the top and wider at the bottom edge. Cut along those marked lines to create angled sides, and you're going to repeat the steps for all your piece B pocket pieces, both lining and main fabric. Now with right sides together, center one of your completed zippers along the top edge of main piece B. And just a note, if you're right-handed, you may like your zipper opening to the right, and if you're left-handed, you may prefer the zipper to open to the left. And then you're going to baste the zipper in place with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now with right sides together, lay one pocket lining piece over your piece B main fabric with the zipper, and you're sandwiching the zipper between the 2 fabrics. You'll align all the edges and sew only along the top edge with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. We're now going to fold the pocket pieces away from the zipper and align all the edges. Certainly you can use an iron to press those edges in place. I'm going to just finger press because I'm using the Turtle Tex fabric as my lining, and there's the coating that can be heat sensitive, so I'm just going to finger press quickly. You're going to top stitch on the right side of the pocket, just an 1/8 inch away from your seam. Then baste the pocket edges a 1/4 inch from all the raw sides and the bottom edge. And don't worry if a little lining peeks out a bit, that's okay. Just simply trim the excess lining even with your main fabric piece. It's more important that the layers lay smooth and flat. I've already gone ahead and completed one pocket, so make sure you repeat these steps to complete your remaining pocket. Now let's attach the exterior zipper pockets. To begin with, fold one main piece A, that's your exterior piece, in half, aligning the sides, and then mark the center of the bottom edge on the right side, and you're going to mark a dot directly above that mark and refer to your pattern for the exact measurements. You're then going to open up your panel and mark a horizontal line extending in both directions, right and left, from the center dot, just like I've done here. With the main fabrics right sides together and the right side of the zipper facing down, position one exterior pocket on the main piece A. You're going to center that unsewn edge of the zipper tape along your marked horizontal line on your main piece A panel, and then either pin the zipper tape in place or certainly use basting tape. I'm using a little bit of washi or paper tape to hold the zipper. And then sew the zipper in place through all the layers with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. You'll then smooth the pocket down, aligning the bottom edges of the pocket with the bottom edge of your exterior piece A panel. Then baste the raw edges, that'll be from the sides and bottom edge of the pocket with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And repeat these steps to attach the remaining exterior pocket to the remaining piece A. We're going to prepare and attach the straps. First, join 2 contrast pieces I and 1 contrast piece J by placing the short ends right sides together and perpendicular to each other, aligning 1 piece I on each corner of piece J. It's very important to have the shorter piece J between the 2 longer pieces I. You're going to sew a diagonal seam from corner to corner, and if you find it helpful to mark the stitching line on the wrong side of the longer piece I ends, go ahead and mark. It just makes it nicer to follow a line as you're stitching. I'm doing the same thing. And make sure the 2 seams are angled in the opposite directions as shown. So be sure you look at the figure illustration in your pattern. You'll then trim the excess seam allowance and then finger press the seams open and top stitch along each side of the seam with an 1/8 inch seam allowance. Now I actually do like to press the seam open before I trim any of the excess fabric. I'll do the top stitching and then go back and trim that excess seam allowance. It just makes my top stitching a little easier for me, but you may prefer to trim first. Now with wrong sides together, fold both long edges of the strap to the center and be sure to use basting tape or sewing clips to hold those edges in place. This is a long strap. You'll top stitch in from the folded edge of the strap along the entire length of the strap. And I do like to start both stitching lines at the same end. It seems to keep all the layers smoother when you have these double folds. You'll measure in from the short ends along one edge of the strap. That would be one fold edge. I'm using sewing clips just to show you a little bit better where my marks are. I used very small marks because I'm marking on the right side of the fabric. Then you'll measure in from the opposite fold edge, and again, refer to your figure illustration in your pattern because these are two different measurements and it will make a difference. Also, make sure your angled seams look like they're going the same direction as in the figure when you're marking these two folded edges at both ends of the strap. The fold edge that has the shorter measurement marking is going to be the outer edge of your strap. You're going to fold the strap in half, encasing those raw edges that are at the center of your strap with the narrower seam allowance facing up. So this is where the narrow portion of that angled seam on your strap is facing up. Then top stitch along the edge following your previous top stitching, beginning and ending at the seam joins. Repeat these steps using the remaining pieces I and the piece J to complete your second strap. All right, let's take those straps and add them to our exterior panels. With right sides up, position one strap on each piece A, that's your main exterior panel, covering the raw edges of the exterior zipper pockets. You're going to measure in from the bottom edge of the main panel from both bottom corners. I've made a little mark, and then also measure in from the top corners. Again, a different measurement, and refer to your pattern for both of those measurements. You'll notice that your offset top stitching that you stitched earlier is going to be almost a straight line across at this point when we're attaching the handle to our exterior main panel. You'll also notice that your outer corner at that raw end of the strap should meet with the raw bottom edge of your main panel piece. The other opposite little side of the strap may be extending a little bit, and that's okay. It's more important to have the one corner even with that raw edge of your panel. Hold the outer edge of the strap in place at those markings. Either use basting tape or glue. I'm using some sewing clips to help hold the ends, but basting tape is a really nice alternative. Then you're going to top stitch from the folded edges of each strap beginning at the bottom and stitch up to where you began your edge stitching along the fold. So your top stitching along the fold that you're sewing now will meet up with the previous row of top stitching. You'll top stitch across the strap and continue down the opposite fold edge. You're certainly welcome to top stitch an X just below that horizontal top stitching. For reinforcement, I have chosen not to. I like the nice clean look. If you'd like, certainly trim the little extending bit of the strap off, even with your main panel. Once you have both straps attached, let's move on to the optional step of attaching purse feet to the base. Follow your pattern to mark the position of the purse feet on the foam side of your base. Be sure to visit our website or our YouTube channel for a video tutorial on installing the purse feet. You might like to iron a small piece of fusible interfacing or fleece over the washer and prongs of your hardware to prevent the metal from rubbing against your lining fabric. Our next step is to install the interior zipper pocket. I've already installed my zipper pocket. Be sure to follow the pattern instructions. There are detailed illustrations to go with the steps. And then also be sure to visit our YouTube channel for a helpful video tutorial. Just follow the measurements listed in your pattern as you follow along the tutorial. We have another pocket. This time it's a slip pocket. We have a helpful video tutorial on our YouTube channel to give you guidance for this pocket. Be sure to follow your pattern for the proper measurements and also the placement of the slip pocket on your lining panel, piece D. On the wrong side of each main piece C facing pieces, you'll center one half of the invisible magnetic snap. Make sure that one half of the magnet is positive side down and the other half is negative side down so that it closes properly when the bag is assembled. I'm using short pieces of double-sided basting tape to mark the positive or attracting sides of the magnet. Then the basting tape acts as a holder. It's going to hold the magnets in place as I stitch them. Another option is to draw an outline around the plastic edge of the magnet on the wrong side of your facing fabric. That way, as you stitch, you know exactly where the plastic edge should line up. Use a zipper foot or a very narrow foot to top stitch as close as possible to the magnet. I'm using a small piece of foam under the magnet to keep it elevated above the sewing machine plate. That way it doesn't stick to the machine bed as I'm sewing. Just remember to move the foam out of the way so you don't accidentally sew the foam to your facing. Then you'll trim the excess plastic close to the stitching, but be careful to not cut into your stitches. Then with right sides together, align one long edge of your piece C facing with the top long edge of each piece D lining. You'll sew together with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. Fold each facing away from the lining, pressing with your fingers or an iron. Then top stitch on the right side of the facing, an 1/8 inch from the seam. With right sides together, center one long edge of the lining piece H base along the bottom edge of one of your lining piece's D panels. You'll sew along the bottom edge with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, starting and stopping a 1/2 inch from the short edges of your base piece. That's the piece H. At the beginning and end of the seam, cut a vertical line only in your lining panel up to the last stitch of that seam. Be very careful to not cut through or past the seam. This is going to help create the boxed bottom corners later. You'll repeat this step to attach the opposite long edge of the base piece to the bottom edge of the remaining lining piece. Then, with right sides together, align the top and side edges of both lining pieces and sew the sides together with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. If you'd like to reduce the bulk of the side seams, you certainly may trim down the lining seam to about 1/4 inch. Press the seams open. I'm going to use my fingers since I have the turtletex or coated lining. With right sides together, you're going to match the bottom raw edges of the lining piece D and the short edges of the piece H, that's the base. You'll sew these together with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, creating the boxed corners of the bag. And again, you can trim the seams at the base to a 1/4 inch as well, just to reduce the bulk if you'd like. Using a 3/8 inch seam allowance, you're going to repeat the same process to attach the contrast piece K base to the assembled exterior panels and also create the boxed corners. You'll leave the exterior wrong side out, and you can also trim the excess foam from the seams if you didn't already. It just helps reduce bulk. And then remember to turn the lining right side out. So now with right sides together, put the lining inside the exterior, aligning the side seams and the top raw edges. Double check that your straps are tucked down inside, and then use sewing clips to hold the top edges together. And then you're going to sew the top edge, again with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. Now we're going to turn the bag right side out by pushing all the fabric through the bottom unsewn edge of the interior zipper pocket. Shape the corners. At the machine, we're going to edge stitch the turning opening of the pocket closed with an 1/8 inch seam allowance. Smooth the lining inside the bag. And then roll the top seam with your fingers to flatten the edge. Again, make sure your top edge is nice and smooth and even, and then top stitch around that top edge of the bag with an 1/8 inch seam allowance. Make sure the handles are not going to get caught in the stitching. And if you like the style, certainly add a second row of top stitching along that top edge, this time using a 3/8 inch seam allowance. I like to begin and end my stitching at a spot where a strap will cover my back stitches. A decorative option is to add a zipper pull or a tassel. Fold the contrast piece O, that's the little zipper pull, in half with the wrong sides together, matching the short ends. Then thread the short ends through the hole in the zipper pull. Now thread the short ends of the zipper pull through the loop that's formed and pull tight to secure. And then trim each short end at an angle if you'd like. If you prefer the look of a tassel, create a luxury tassel and download the free tiered tassel pattern from our website, sallietomato.com, and use the remaining contrasting fabric and follow the tutorial instructions on our YouTube channel. I hope you enjoyed learning how to create your own Bonnie bag. Let us know in the comments if you have any other questions or suggestions for this pattern. Please share and show off your photos of your completed project. We'd love to see your style. Use the hashtags SallieTomato and Bonnie Bag on social media so we can see it. If you like this tutorial, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. I hope you'll check out the rest of our pattern line for more creative projects. Thanks for watching and have a great making day.